53 years of age, been in this industry since '83, did my apprenticeship as a toolmaker. Yeah, and just started to work with Dad actually in noticing as a toolmaker, looking at his processes in what he was doing were in many ways needed fixing, and my expertise was to create better methods of doing things. So I just entered the business doing that primarily, is streamlining the processes. But in as far as moulding goes, little moulds, be it closed moulds for plastic injection or aluminium die cast, or open moulds for boats, they're all of the same principle, but they're large and small. They both need equal amount of surface finish and detail put into them to make them a good component. Prior to committing to the tooling that we now do with computer, we actually get a scale model made. We don't use them for anything else, just to have a look at and a meeting around them and see if we can find fault with the design. Yeah, it's very rare that we make a design error. And also the computer allows us to use the space that's given inside the boat. We can use ergodynamic mannequins in the computer and sit them in the seats and move them around the boat, and it's very rare that you'll make an error that you'll bash your head on something, because it's had so much time and effort put into the thought of it in the design. You're always trying to react to or respond to the demand of the customer. We'll aim at building a boat of the size that we believe is going to fit their needs. We have a meeting and discuss what we believe will be next to do. A lot of it's an intuition, I suppose. Like I remember speaking to Dad at length about what project to do next, and it was the Monterey back in the early 80s. We believed at that stage that a lot of people were driving company cars. They've got a decent sort of vehicle that can tow a reasonable boat. If we could make them a boat which they didn't have to buy another vehicle to tow it, that it would be a winner. We spent a lot of emphasis on actually the size and weight of that particular boat to be able to be towed by their average vehicles and to fit into their garage and just be the sweet spot size. The Monterey fitted that facet. 28 cruiser, probably not more the influence of Neville, because Neville's always taken his family away in the cruising boats, and every inch of room he's been after over the years, and extending our boarding platforms and so forth, just to get a bit more living room on it. So I suppose that was the design brief, is to make something the biggest cruiser that we could that fitted into the road legalities. That particular boat, it did draw upon a lot of engineering to try to make it light enough, because average vehicles, without going to F-250s and Dodge Rams and so forth, have a 3,500 kg towing capability. So immediately we had to start to use high-tech materials to create less weight. A lot of the timber was taken out of the bulkheads and substituted with plastic core materials, and the boat actually had a aluminium trailer which is 400 kilos less than the steel trailer. The subfloor strength in the boat is more of a matrix of thin composite materials rather than large pieces of lumber, which is what traditionally was put in. You mentioned the 28 Cruiser is probably the most complex boat that we built. It's got 40 integrated mouldings that are married together within the boat, so it's got a very large library of moulds to make that boat. What it achieves is lighter construction, I suppose, and it also achieves a finished look of the boat throughout. It has a white shiny fiberglass finish just about everywhere you look in the cockpit. The components need to be not rigidly adhered to in the boat, making the boat too stiff, because fiberglass is a material that, subjected to vibration and stress, it can and will crack. So with the new bonding materials, it's basically made of fiberglass components that are bonded together. Sort of a little bit like when you're sitting in an aircraft and you look at the bulkhead in front of you when it's taken off for landing and you see it moving. Think if it was a rigid bulkhead, you'd probably end up breaking the aircraft in half. There's 3 pieces of software. 2 of them are dimensional engineering packages that put together our package drawings. It does exploded views and stuff of the components. Well, the 3rd piece of software, I suppose, is a surface modelling package. It creates surface shapes and then evaluates those surface shapes in certain degrees to make them perfect. That digital information of the finished boat gets sent to a 5-axis cutting machine, or a router, and basically what their process is they'll layer up polystyrene foam, a very soft material, and they'll cut it very, very quick to an undersize. They'll then apply hard materials, hard sandable material, or machinable sandable materials, and then they'll put a finish cut over it. That creates the shape, be it one of all 40 components. Hull and deck obviously being the biggest. We outsource that, and they send us what we call the plug back here, which we will sand and finish and paint and polish and finish and build a mould off. We had to unfortunately pioneer a lot of it in this country because we understood the technology was available. We didn't have the facility in this country, so it was either put in a big 5-axis milling machine ourselves or work with people that were in their infancy in doing it, which we chose to do. And with digital information like that, you can outsource wherever you like in the world. Australia has developed in that area, and there are a couple of companies that treat it as a service to do that work, so it's quite easy to obtain it locally. But more wakeboard my son is into now, so we generally go away, or have done for the last probably 10 years, up to Wealdon on a houseboat and just water ski and wakeboard.